Talmud Bavli Tractate Beitzah, page 27b. Top of the page with Yom Tov, Shilui, Shiolika Mashayel, etc. And on the festival itself, he would ask only how the incident occurred, meaning that he would investigate the cause of the blemish, and as in that case, where a certain man who was a priest brought a firstborn before Rava close to nightfall on a festival eve. Rava was sitting and washing the hair on his head. He raised his eyes and saw the firstborn blemish, and then he said to the owner of the firstborn, "Go now, come back tomorrow." Okay, this is interesting. This is really interesting because we're looking if investigating a blemish. Okay, maybe it was in that case it was a priest brought a firstborn before Rava. Rava was sitting and washing his hair. He raised his eyes, he saw the firstborn's blemish, and he said to the owner of the firstborn, okay, so the festival eve and Rava's washing his hair. Okay. But why is a Kohen asking Rava about a blemish if they're not in Israel? They're not in Israel. So why does a blemish matter for a sacrifice if you can't sacrifice not in Israel? When he came back on the following day, Rava said to him, "How did the incident that caused the blemish occur?" The owner said to Rava, "Barley grains were scattered on one side of a fence of thorns, while the firstborn was standing on the other side. When it wanted to eat, it stuck its head through the fence, and a thorn cut its lip." Poor thing. Rava said to the owner, "Perhaps you caused the blemish by deliberately placing the barley on the other side of the fence." He said to him, "No." The Gemara comments, "And from where do you say that causing a blemish to an offspring is prohibited? As it is taught in the Beitzah, it is written with regard to offerings, there must not be any blemish in it." Leviticus 22:21. I have only an explicit prohibition that it may not have a blemish. From where is it derived that one may not cause a blemish to it by means of something else? For example, that he does not bring dough or a dried fig and place it on its ear so that a dog will come and take it, thereby biting off part of the animal's ear and leaving it blemished. Therefore, the verse states any blemish. It says any blemish, and it says any blemish. The word any, it says blemish, and then it says any blemish. The word any comes to teach that one may not cause a blemish. And that's the end of that. New Mishnah. So, with regard to an animal that died, one may not move it from its place on a festival. And such an incident once occurred, and they asked Rabbi Tarfon about it. And on that same occasion, they also asked him about challah that had been separated from dough and then became ritually impure on a festival. Such challah is not fit to be eaten by anyone, nor may it be used in any other manner. For example, as animal feed or as fuel for a fire on that day. Rabbi Tarfon entered the study hall and inquired about these matters, and the sages said to him, one may not move them from their place. The Gemara says, let us say that we learned the unattributed Mishnah not in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Shimon. As we learned in the Mishnah, Shabbat 156b, that Rabbi Shimon says one may cut up gourds for an animal on Shabbat so that it can eat them more easily, and similarly, one may cut up an unslaughtered animal carcass for dogs. But Yehuda says, if it was not an animal carcass already on the eve of Shabbat, but rather it died on Shabbat itself, it is prohibited. Since Rabbi Yehuda distinguishes between an animal that died on Shabbat and one that died before Shabbat, it would appear that Rabbi Shimon holds that one may move an animal carcass and feed it to dogs even if it died on Shabbat. Accordingly, the Mishnah prohibits moving an animal that died on a festival seems to conflict with Rabbi Shimon's opinion. The Gemara rejects this argument. The Mishnah can be understood even if you say that it is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Shimon, as Rabbi Shimon nevertheless concedes. In the case of animals that were entirely healthy at twilight but died on the festival, that they were prohibited. Since they were healthy at twilight, the owner had no intention at that point in time of feeding them to dogs, and they are therefore prohibited as muktzah. The Beitzah, on the other hand, is referring to an animal that had been sick on the previous day. Since the owner knew that it was close to death, he had in mind to feed it to his dogs after it died. This works out well according to the opinion of Mar Bar Amemar in the name of Rava, who said that Rabbi Shimon concedes in the case of animals that died on the festival without having been mortally sick the day before, that they are prohibited on the festival due to muktzah. According to this opinion, it is well. However, according to the opinion of Mar, the son of Bar Yosef, in the name of Rava, who said that Rabbi Shimon was in disagreement, even in the case of animals that died suddenly, and he holds that they are permitted, what is there to say? The unattributed Mishnah appears to contradict this opinion. The Gemara answers, the Iri explained it as follows. The Mishnah is referring to a sacred animal that died. Since it is sacred property, one may not derive benefit from it, and therefore one may not give it to dogs. The Gemara comments, the language of the Mishnah is also precise, according to this interpretation as it teaches. They asked Rabbi Tarfon about it, and about challah that became ritually impure, from which it may be inferred just as challah is sacred, so too the animal mentioned here is one that was sacred rather than a non-sacred animal. The Gemara asks, rather according to this explanation, the reason that the animal may not be moved is that the animal was scared. Was sacred. Same letters. The animal was sacred, but if it was a non-sacred animal that died, it would be permitted to move it. If so, this works out well according to the opinion of Mar, the son of Yosef, in the name of Rava, who said that Rabbi Shimon was in disagreement even in the case of animals that died. And he holds that they are permitted according to this opinion as well. As one can say that the Mishnah, which indicates that one may move an animal that died on a festival, is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Shimon. However, according to the opinion of Bar Amemar in the name of Rava, who said that Rabbi Shimon concedes in the case of animals that die that they are prohibited, what is there to say? The Mishnah is in accordance with neither Rabbi Shimon nor Rabbi Yehuda. The Gemara answers, so what are we dealing here? It is in a case where the animal was in danger of dying the day before, and the owner had in mind to feed it to his dogs after it died, and all agree with regard to the ruling. Therefore, according to Rabbi Shimon, an allowance is granted to move the animal if it was a non-sacred animal and it had been in danger prior to the festival. And if the animal was sacred, even he agrees that it is prohibited, as it may not be fed to dogs. And that's the end of that. New Mishnah. One may not register to have a portion of an animal on the festival ab initio, which means l'chatchila, since it is prohibited to divide up an animal into portions for different people, as this is similar to conducting business, a weekday activity on a festival. But one may register for the animal on the eve of a festival, and then those who registered for the animal may slaughter and divide it between them on the festival itself in accordance with the agreement reached the day before. The next day, each pays the slaughterer according to his portion of the animal. The Gemara asks, what is the meaning of one may not register? Yehuda said that Shmuel said, one may not fix a sum of money and set a particular price for each portion of an animal on a festival ab initio. The Gemara asks, what should one do on a festival to divide up the animal without fixing a price? Rav said he should bring two animals and stand them one next to the other and say, is this one equal in value to the other one? If the purchasers confirm that this is the case, then after the festival, they assess the value of the animal that is identical to the animal that had been slaughtered on the festival. And in that way, they establish the amount that each person must pay. This is also taught in Beitzah that states, a person may not say to another on the festival, I am hereby in partnership with you in this animal that you are about to slaughter for the value of a selah, or I am hereby in partnership with you for 2 selah. However, he may say to him, I am hereby in partnership with you for half the animal, or for a third or a quarter, without stipulating the value of that share. And after the festival, they may determine how much each share is worth.